what it's like to date when you're blind. What do they look like? Usually that's the first question that gets asked when you reveal you're texting, sexting, DMing someone new. Let's face it, whether you like it or not, looks play a huge factor when deciding whether to pursue someone. It's even more heightened now that there are myriad dating apps focusing on the exterior. But what happens if you're blind or partially sighted? Do you only date people who are also blind? How do they judge potential partners if you can't see them? It shouldn't come as a surprise that blind or visually impaired people can still have a love life. But how do they navigate dating and relationships in our looks-obsessed society? We spoke to blind and partially sighted people to sort fact from fiction. Georgie is partially sighted following the diagnosis of glaucoma and uveitis aged 3. She is completely blind in her left eye and has limited vision in her right eye. She describes it as tunnel vision. When I was 21, I went blind for a year. The relationship I was in at the time didn't last very long as my sight loss became a hindrance for them. In the last few years, being visually impaired has become quite a big part of my job, and what I do comes up. But I don't disclose it readily as it's a lot for someone you've just met. That shouldn't be the case, but we're a long way off that. I'm currently single. I don't have a preference in terms of dating people with a sight impairment or those who are sighted. It comes down to personality and whether they make me laugh. Saying that, I have found myself dating people who'd have been challenged in some way. Perhaps it's because we have something in common. I sometimes find male comedians can be threatened when they think you're funnier than them. I'm on board with someone who can push back and be in the middle of it. It would be good to meet someone wildly differently from what I do though. I want to learn about something new. In terms of dates, I don't want anything like crazy golf, ping pong or bowling as that would put me right off. I can't do any of them. First off, I have no depth perception, so you will win, and second, I hate being embarrassed. Because I have an invisible disability, a lot of people I've dated don't seem to register it. I'm pretty savvy about weeding out anyone who wants to date me because of it. If someone is asking too many of the wrong questions, alarm bells go off. When I've had TV appearances, I get weird messages from people who totally disregard the work I'm doing and say things like how attractive I am. I don't tend to use dating apps or websites as I'd feel like a hypocrite. I've based my career on being visually impaired, and I'd hate for someone to judge me purely on what I look like. It just doesn't feel quite right. Source: Royal National Institute of Blind People, RNIB. Figures for support, information and advice about living with sight loss. Visit www.rnib.org.uk. Claire is registered blind, having lost her sight to autosomal retinitis pigmentosa, a degenerative eye condition. Sight has never been an issue for any of the people I've dated. I've had boyfriends ever since I was young, and I've also been married. I've been single for the last 2 years, and I'm not particularly bothered about dating at the moment. I think I've been put off. If I am looking for someone, it would have to be someone who's active and wants to do stuff, as I'm a bodybuilder, and now I live in the gym. My nickname there is the Ground Queen, and I think it puts a lot of guys off that I can lift heavier weights than them. I've never gone out with someone who can't see. It's not a conscious decision. I've never met someone with sight loss who I fancied, so it never really happened. On the flip side, a sighted person can bring stuff into a relationship like driving, which can be very helpful. I do get a lot of older guys who seem to like the idea of wanting to look after someone, and that can be a bit odd. They don't realize till later I don't really need looking after. For me, attraction isn't instantly visual. I can see faces, if in good lighting, and up close, but if I'm walking, I wouldn't see someone and go for as I wouldn't notice they were there. It's more about personality and whether they can take my sense of humor. Metro's A to Z of fetishes. T is for telephones, tickles and being trampled underfoot. Orgasmic meditation, the wellness trend where women get fingered by strangers. Why one man is launching a gender-neutral sex toy store. Girl at airport live tweets to women about to fly to ambush their cheating husbands. I'm addicted to smell.